Okay, so yesterday we did leaves. Today we're gonna do one with strictly peat moss. So we're gonna feed the ones that got the leaves yesterday, and then we're gonna create a new bin with worms with just peat moss. And that'll be today's video. So I just use, where's the label? Oh, I ripped it off. It's your standard, what is this, Sphagnum Peat Moss. And you wanna, so I put it in a bucket, add water, and then mix it up. Mix it really well because peat moss doesn't absorb water very easily, so you have to really soak it and stir it and mix it until it becomes like a big mushy mess. That's what I'm gonna do now. All right, so first we have a 4-gallon bucket, so I'm just gonna, I don't know, fill it about a quarter of the way with peat moss. And then we are going to add water to that. All right, and now the most time-consuming part, this whole process is mixing the peat moss. You can see, like, this stuff takes forever to mix. You want a couple of these. These are like $1 at every hardware store. Get the cheapies, get a bunch of them. I use them all the time for the worm farm. They're great for digging around and not hurting the worms. And I probably have 10 of them around here, just for things like this, or for digging into the worm beds to see how they're doing, or to move food around and things like that. So get yourself one of these 3-prong cultivator tools. They're pretty awesome, and they're like $1, so it's worth it. All right, so you can see the water is starting to get in there. Okay, that's about the consistency we're looking for. But before we put it into the bed, we're going to squeeze out any juices because you do not want any excess moisture in there. I mean, it'll leak out, so it's not really a big deal. But there's a certain consistency that's really good for a worm bed. All right. Okay, so same as the worms that we put in the leaves yesterday, we're going to fill this tub with peat moss that we've just mixed up, and then we're going to add the worms, and we'll put them under the light like we did with the leaf ones yesterday. All right. Okay, so let's talk consistency of the peat moss. You want it to, you don't want there to be juices pouring out from between your fingers. Maybe a drop or two is good enough, and I like it to be like in a hard packed ball like that. That's good enough. So we're gonna start taking this stuff, squeezing out any juices that there might be, make sure it's fully drained, and then we're gonna start piling it into the worm bin. All right. It doesn't need to be crazy thick, just an inch is probably good enough for bedding for these worms. So I can spread this out a little bit, and I'm probably gonna wanna, yeah, that's probably good. So something like that is kind of what you're looking for your worm bed. All right. Okay, so once you get all the peat moss bedding in there, it's gonna look something like that. You're gonna add your worms. Okay, so I've set up this bin similar to what I did with the leaves. So peat moss bottom, and we're gonna add our worms. Our worms actually normally come in about a pound, well, a pound of worms will come with about a pound of peat moss. And so we don't have to clean them off this time like we had to do with the leaves. These ones can just go straight in there because they already have peat moss on them. So we just take one of our bags of worms and we're gonna dump them in. Okay, so now the worms are in the peat moss. We will put them under the light like we did with the leaves, and we'll let them get acclimated. We'll give it a day or two, and then we'll feed them. So for now, we will leave these guys be, and we'll feed the guys with the leaves. All right, so I have 2 pounds of pumpkin. We're gonna treat these guys to some pumpkin, because I still have plenty. It's January and we're still dealing with pumpkin. So I'm just going to toss it on top, and it's juicy, so I'm not gonna add any water. I don't think I need to, because of how moist this pumpkin is. So what I'm gonna do now is add some more leaves on top, because you always want to bury your food, right? And so we'll just sprinkle some more leaves. You can see the oak I talked about the other day, because we still have plenty of oak. And we'll bury it, and then we will put these guys back under the light that they were in before. And we'll check on them in another day or two and see how they're doing. All right, stay tuned for more videos.